All right, folks. So we're going to do a little update on what's going on with Hurricane Milton that's coming. So I did a long video last night regarding the Israel-Iran situation. Unfortunately, I got into a rant, and that made the video unpostable by the time. It was 2 a.m. I was irritated with all the nonsense I'd heard throughout the day, and I decided to self-censor. Maybe I should have just posted it, but regardless, most of what's going on in Florida has not been reported because it's been overshadowed by North Carolina. However, that area, I went to college in that Tampa area, and that's where Milton's supposed to hit. And I worked on St. Pete Beach, which is probably going to take a massive brunt of this. Pinellas County has like 1.8 million people. Tampa's not in Pinellas County, but it's just, it's on Tampa Bay in Hillsborough County. So Pinellas County is what basically lines the Gulf of Mexico there. So all the way up, I can't even think at this point where it ends, but it's a large coastline there. And like I said, 1.8 million people, and a good majority of them are in like evacuation level 1. It's the largest amount of population that lives within like 3 or 4 feet of sea level, or something along those lines. I forget the exact statistic, but I think it's the largest population concentration in the United States that lives within that really low range. So it's got the possibility to be quite devastating. When Helene went through, it did cause a lot of issues along the Gulf Coast. It's, like I said, has been overshadowed. A lot of homes have been destroyed. There was significant flooding, especially the further north you went into Florida, basically Tampa area up. And St. Pete, for example, their septic got flooded out, and, everyone had to, there was like a no drinking water order, all kinds of stuff. So it was very disturbing to those people. And if it hadn't done what it done in North Carolina, you would have heard a lot more about it. But Milton looks like it is growing into a monster in terms of how it's going to come in, because a lot of them come in up and around Florida. This one's coming over just from the Gulf of Mexico. It's forming over there, and it's just going to come straight into Tampa. So it's going to push all that warm water up into Tampa, and they're looking at record storm surge. I don't think they've ever got hit directly with 18 feet, and that's kind of what the peak is looking at, 15 to 18 feet. And that's going to displace 1 million people, at least. It's a very, very densely populated area. And based upon the damage that already occurred from a non-direct hit, basically just getting side force winds from Helene, if you are in that area, dude, don't ride this out. And I'm saying that because I live there, and there's a very cavalier attitude about hurricanes. Like Tampa, historically, when you have natural hurricanes that occur, which I'm sure Milton is not in this case because it's a weird freak of nature, it is very difficult for them to get direct hits. So most people in that area kind of brush it off. Fort Myers, Naples took it a little more seriously. Fort Lauderdale, Key West, they took things more seriously because where they were just often getting hit a lot more directly from these hurricane force winds and storm surges. So people in Tampa, in this instance, you are now seemingly target number 1, and you will get the brunt of it. You're not going to get a side effect of a hurricane, which is generally what happens. I had a couple go through when I was there, and nobody even paid any mind to them. It was like, if you're on the coast, throw a couple sheets of plywood over your window, your storefront on the beach. But I went for 5 years, 6 years straight. I went to that beach almost every day, and there's never any damage that amounted to anything. So we could be looking at, sort of a North Carolina 2.0, and a serious problem. So if you're somebody who lives up near Orlando, this is going to affect you too, not just because you're going to get hit with whatever's left of the hurricane, but people are going to be pushing inward. And I would suggest them to go north and inward if they can, but it gets pretty rural up there. There's not a lot of places to stay, but if you've got an RV, or something, go to a park in the middle of the state maybe, and stay away from north middle of the state, and don't park near any trees. But you got to get out of the flood zone because it's water. is water, water, water is what causes 90% of the damage. Yes, roofs get ripped off. Yes, trees get toppled. But you got to remember, a lot of vegetation, a lot of buildings can withstand 120 to 140 mile an hour winds, and if they were built right. Now, we can expect even more supply shortages and gas shortages, and they already don't have the materials like Duke Energy. When I was in Kissimmee, I had a rental house in Kissimmee that we were fixing up. That was Duke Energy. I can't remember who's given power down over in the Tampa area, if it's still Duke Energy as well. But Duke Energy also is running North Carolina's operation. And Duke Energy, all these backup transformers and stuff have long been, Pete Buttigieg sent all that stuff to Ukraine. So Duke, we're looking at a year for a lot of those places in North Carolina to get power back. And if this infrastructure is also Duke that gets affected, there's nothing for them to fix it with, especially if a substantial amount of substations get flooded or things along those lines. So this isn't like, hey, the hurricane came in and 3 days later you're cleaning up, and then a week later you kind of start to get things back to normal, which is normal hurricane stuff. This has the potential to be quite catastrophic, and so those people need to heed the warnings and just play this one safe, man, because I don't have a good feeling about it. If this has an artificial component to it, I would venture to guess that MacDill is one of the... So, I'm sorry, I'm doing math in my head. If this crap kicks off with Israel, and this is not really a hurricane portion, MacDill runs massive amounts of operations. So, the SEALs at MacDill used to come down to the beach bar I worked at, and, they used to drink because they were always running ops out of MacDill Air Force Base. And that is a major hub for Middle East operations. And if for some reason something kicks off, let's just say in 3 days against Iran and Israel, the same time this hurricane is coming through, you could have a significant delay or damage done to that Air Force Base, because that Air Force Base is on the water. It is on the northern tip of Tampa Bay. So, well, not technically the northern tip, but regardless, it's on Tampa Bay. So we could be looking at something that causes significant disruptions to operations running out of there. Now, I would hope that people up there are competent, or down there are competent in forecasting this, if I'm just sitting at my computer doing it. And if that risk is necessary, take those assets and move them north to Air Force Base further up along the East Coast. If that is a concern for them, let's hope they have a brain and that they do that. But most of what I see out of the United States military these days is not a lot of brain power, or internal corruption, however you want to look at it. So anyways, heed the warnings, guys. I don't want to see people lose their lives because they're not paying attention, or they're too emotionally connected to material valuables and not their own lives and their families. And they're mad that their Mustang and their pretty palm trees and their little Florida American lifestyle might get destroyed, that they can't separate themselves from it and prioritize life safety of them and their loved ones. Let's hope that those situations are minimized. With that, let you go for now. Bye.